So mom's currently off at work again. She left quite a bit of money to get some delivery from Mark's Pizzeria, and I chose to get a two combo add-on with one of those new giant pan pizzas. I got a 10-piece order of the mozzarella sticks for one of the combo with the Carolina Gold sauce, which tastes pretty good. It's pretty close to tasting like barbecue, but I think it may be a little bit sweeter and lighter. The mozzarella sticks are pretty good. And then for the other combo add-on, the other side, I got an order of battered onion petals with honey mustard sauce, which oddly enough came in the form of this craft packet. Today was another day of taking pictures of old styrofoam drawings of mine, which ultimately led to me taking pictures of some of the very oldest of my styrofoam drawings. At one point, I found Styrofoam 9000, which was the second styrofoam drawing I ever made. Back in November of 2013. Although I don't entirely recall off the top of my head the exact day at the moment. Although for Styrofoam 9000, it was an example of one of the few styrofoam drawings that don't have an engraving. So I had to find out the exact day I made the styrofoam for my YouTube channel. And then I had to use the YouTube data viewer in order to try and determine a rough estimate of the exact minute I finished that styrofoam, based off of when the roughly 1 minute video that I made and uploaded through the old YouTube Capture app in order to show off Styrofoam 9000. Oddly enough, that styrofoam seemed to be made of a denser styrofoam than many other styrofoam drawings I've made in the past. On one half of the giant pan, I got pepperoni, black olives, and red sauce for my mom. And for my half, I got crispy chicken, bacon, and ranch sauce. For breakfast, I had a cup of coffee that Mom managed to make. I think maybe up to an hour before I got up today, which may have been somewhere between 8 and 9 in the morning. I ended up staying up until about 2 in the morning, I would say, partially due to me installing Blue Maxima's Flashpoint onto my computer. I installed Flashpoint Infinite because that's the one that only has a 2 gigabyte file size or installation size. They managed to archive a lot of the old Nickelodeon games so far. Although it's almost entirely focused on SpongeBob, the old SpongeBob games, because I'm pretty sure when you think of Nickelodeon, you think of SpongeBob first, I think. And SpongeBob has been on Nickelodeon for a really long time, having been around since 1999, I would say, and still to this day continuing to make new episodes. What ultimately drove me to download Blue Maxima's Flashpoint Infinite was a search to play the Back at the Barnyard game, Pip's Egg-Salad Adventure, which I think I got from seeing my old gameplay video of it. From my YouTube channel. Although it's hard to say what ultimately led me to finding one of my old Knicker gameplays off of my YouTube channel. Oh! How normal is it to bite the insides of one of your cheeks while eating? It seems to be okay. Excuse me. I made the Mark's Pizzeria order around 4 p.m. And in the time between doing that, I substituted the pineapple for black olives on the side of the giant pan intended for Mom because she told me on the phone that the last time she had the pineapple, it made her stomach feel weird. Something along those lines. The order came to $47.43 after using a coupon for 10% off an order over 10%. And I figured out the amount for a tip by multiplying that amount by 1.8 off of my laptop. It came to, I believe, 51.4 something. So I decided to give $50 through the 2 20s and the slightly ripped up $10 bill Mom left on the table. I said keep the change. But then the pizza guy that came around 4:45 p.m. It's 5 p.m. right now. Excuse me. Kept the change, but then gave $2 back, saying that he had some change too. Today in particular, I took the bigger cardboard box from the basement up to my room. Although doing this was a bit of a hassle due to the size of the cardboard box. and all the various things that were in the way of me and the box in our path. To get to the stairs from the basement to this floor. For breakfast, along with the cup of coffee, I also had I believe it said uncurated Canadian bacon breakfast wrap that I loosely wrapped in paper towel, 2 squares, which was ultimately too much. I should remember to only do 1 square if I'm cooking 1 burrito next time. I microwaved it for 45 seconds on each side. The first time I set it for a minute, then stopped it when it hit 15 seconds. And then, after flipping it with my hand, I tried to press that add 30 seconds button, but it ended up just starting it where it left off instead of truly adding the extra 30 seconds. So when that 30 seconds was over, I waited for that finish ding to stop, and then I pushed the add 30 seconds button. Oh, that's what the directions said for a 1100 watt microwave. And I'm assuming that the microwave we have is an 1100 watt microwave. Well, the breakfast burrito, it was okay, but some water came out of it. It's like bit through the second half. In the time between me placing the Mark's Pizzeria order, which I decided to do so at 4 p.m., because I didn't want them to make the delivery in the darkness, considering how heavy the snow currently is. Granted, it's not like we're knee-deep in snow, but there's a considerable amount of snow. That, and I was getting pretty close to the cutoff point where I could reliably say that the sun had full luminous shining within my room. It's 5:06 p.m. and right now the sun isn't at full luminous. The cutoff point is somewhere between 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. And ultimately, I determined the cutoff point through my discretion based on how I feel the lighting is. I made sure to ultimately empty out that big box of styrofoams and then to put it back down in the basement. And that trip was significantly easier than the trip to bring the box into my room before I moved my stuff down. Excuse me. And made the call to Mark's Pizzeria. My call ended up getting received by a male worker who was still relatively new to the job. The phone conversation ended up being 5.5 minutes, which is more than understandable. I had to be, for each combo side I picked, I opted to be told their selection of sauces. I got the honey mustard for the petals and the Carolina Gold for the mozzarella sticks. And I would say my giant pan pizza order was moderately complicated. Or maybe closer to the simple end of the spectrum. At around 4:20 p.m., the person Mom calls the plow guy, because he's the one who stops by to plow the driveways within at least this neighborhood, exchange for cash payments for the service. I was pretty bewildered. Considering how I thought that I was told 45 minutes to an hour. I heard that doorbell ring, made me think they made the delivery incredibly early. And I told the plow guy of this. I think after telling him that Mom left the money for the plow service in an envelope, which I then went in. It was around here. I retrieved it. and gave it to a person that Mom calls a plow guy. He had on winterish clothes, a pair of shades, had gray hair with considerable beard, and the person who delivered my Mark's Pizzeria order also had a beard. With a mask over it. Although, oddly enough, surprisingly, I couldn't find a mask around here. Though I must admit, I was pretty distracted by the Blue Maxima Flashpoint games. Excuse me, I explored games made by Nickelodeon. During the session, while I was down here waiting for the Mark's Pizzeria order, I found an old SpongeBob game I was familiar with, the Bumper Subs game. And I think when I briefly played that game, it was pretty brief before I ended up getting chased by a whale, which the game generally alerts you of, because one hit with a whale will mean instant game over, because a whale will swallow your submarine in one gulp. I actually put the entire order of battered onion petals onto this plate, along with half the order of mozzarella sticks. I found some candy between now and me receiving the delivery from Mark's Pizzeria. 2 of those small little Reese's Pieces shaped peppermint patties, except it's smaller than it's about the size of a mini Reese's Pieces, and is more, how would I say, flat. Doesn't have really have the ridges of a Reese's Pieces. Though I'm thinking that the more technical and correct term may be Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. I think if you say Reese's Pieces, you're referring to those little tiny candies that are colored orange, yellow, and brown. Something along those lines. Yeah, I think today's session of Bumper Subs was the first time I ever played that game without wandering around aimlessly, not knowing what exactly to do. Hmm. I also found it just so happened during that session of Flashpoint that was in the early morning, or as I think the more technical term is, late night. It just so happened to have that, game of Pip's excellent adventure that I was looking for. And it was all, just how I remembered. Although I think at the moment I'm at a bit of a crunch for space. Oddly enough, I'm still having difficulties logging into the Iron Rage launcher. I don't really like playing multiplayer games through a launcher. It seems I have at least a bit of a history of me encountering problems at some point when playing a multiplayer game through a launcher. That Game of Thrones game went on the fritz a while back.